Boxes, the staple of Crash Bandicoot. Jumping on, body slamming, spinning into, any and all ways to break them. But today we change things up. I tried beating Crash Bandicoot War without breaking a single one. Can we do it? Let's find out. And if you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe, it helps a lot. We start the journey with a literal satellite plunging to Earth from space, which somehow ends up only destroying a single door. And you've got to wonder why they didn't make the door from the same material as the stairs, because not a dent. This releases Jellyfish Ukuka to start the story. Aku Aku senses his bro's release, saying sod this, I'm out. And Uka meets up with Cortex for his manager review meeting.
I know we've had a few unfortunate setbacks. And failed.
Had a quick natter with Cortex's severed head and it was time for the first level. Now Toad Village being the first level didn't give any issues, as even when completely blocked we could just walk along the sides. Pretty easy, although touch concerned on Crash's storage method. Diving straight into Under Pressure, we immediately got eaten. Swift revenge was taken though. I did realise at this point an unforeseen difficulty. As we weren't breaking boxes, we couldn't get the checkpoints, so on top of avoiding all the boxes, we would also have to complete a full run of each level without dying. It was going well until... let me just correct something. So crash without breaking boxes, ignoring projectiles. Perfect. After that, just a small blockade, which we luckily had enough space to swim above, and that was our first swimming level cleared. One questionable storage method later, and it was time for Coco to take the lead. Now this one was going to be problems. It took me a couple of goes to get used to the movement, and also for getting the challenge. Twice. These levels are where I found the lack of checkpoints really hurt the most, and the game was especially mean with this crystal placement. And after quite a few deaths, I had Ukuka turning up to tell me to get good. The crystal ended up being possible, although it required this tight jump to get to it, but with that we managed to get through it. Not looking forward to the more difficult level later though. We met a new severed head called Tiny, who I'm sure we'll be meeting later, and then got chased by a dinosaur, making sure to avoid breaking any... Alright, one sec. So crash without breaking boxes, ignoring projectiles, ignoring mobs breaking boxes. Perfect. I accidentally mistimed a jump here with our first encounter with TNT, which unfortunately Crash had to pay the price for. Interestingly found the chasing dinosaur doesn't break the checkpoint box, which is a bit of a shame as that would have been nice, but no issues throughout the rest and onto the final level. Okay then. Apart from getting used to the movement, didn't have any problems in this first surfing level, as was plenty of spaces to avoid the boxes. In most spots. No boxes in the tiny fight, so simple to do first try. I mean second. Third. Oh, okay, I died a few times. I've taken care of that though, onto the next set of levels. This body slam, I don't think we'll use that much. The G-Wiz level was much the same as earlier, sticks to the sides, pretty much avoids everything. Although an interesting thing that crossed my mind was the bonus sections. Now these are normally used for extra lives or masks, but we could use them as a checkpoint, as if you die further in the level, you respawn at the bonus platform as long as you've used them. Didn't come in handy here, but good to know for later. Hangamai actually had our first accidental box break, so rip that attempt. But the biggest thing was this roadblock. Now here you can't move past it, and obviously we can't spin to break them, so we're sort of in a pickle here. But I did find one method that fits in our newly added rule. If we spin into this mob from his left side, it'll send him flying through the boxes and clear the path for us. Going to count that as technically Crash not breaking the box. Hog Ride was a fun one, I was quite a big fan of the racing levels, but in terms of avoiding the boxes, this one was fine, as you could see the boxes coming up quite clearly, and quite easy to avoid. I think the later ones might be a bit more difficult with having to use the ramps, but we'll see when we get there. Just before the next level, we met the new boss for this section, although couldn't quite place his accent.
G'day, mate.
Probably English. Started out great in Tomb Time, with an immediate death. And then this lovely box wall, but with a crouch jump we could just barely get over it, as you just get a little bit of extra height doing a crouch jump. I actually took advantage of the bonus section checkpoint this time, as I got squashed later on in the level. Although a bit unfortunate for this one, as the bonus stage was quite near the start in this level. A couple of falls later though, and managed to get through. Now Midnight Run was difficult. Not so much avoiding the boxes, but just completing the level in one go was super tricky. No bonus section saved me here, especially certain timings with the dragons, which seem to force you into breaking the boxes. We in fact got to the point where after many deaths, we got to the point where the game gave us a helping hand and started us with an Aku Aku mask. And then after a not so short amount of time, it gave us a second one. And if that wasn't enough, on the run that finally got near the end, I missed the crystal. We did manage to finish the level shortly after, but with a bit of damaged pride. Want to say I let off some frustration with Dingodile, but I instead got fried a couple of times. Nothing to worry about though, and after beating we got access to double jump, which come in very handy. Once more we get introduced to another threatening head just before Dino might. Now after finding a baby dinosaur to ride, we found the most unfair box placement up to this point. Like, how are you meant to see that box behind the tower of boxes? Tried a couple of times but ended up having to just leave the baby dino early in order to walk around the side. Crouch jump and double jump was an absolute saviour against this little collection of boxes. I think this will be really handy later on. Then we just had a dino chase and we're good. As I was saying, one last dino chase. Give me a sec. At this point you might be questioning why I didn't get the bonus platform, so I didn't have to go through the entire level again and again. And whilst editing this, I had the very same question. A few goes later, and we got through. Nothing super interesting happened in Deep Trouble. It took quite a few attempts and was quite a slow level as we had to keep waiting for the pufferfish and the ground blenders. Other than that, no box issues. High Time, on the other hand, almost ended this run, and it wasn't from this blockade, as we could easily send a mob spinning through them. It was from the very next set of boxes. You might think, just do the same with a scorpion. However, these guys don't go flying for some reason, they just disappear in a puff of smoke. And so we were stuck. We couldn't walk around them, we couldn't crawl above them, and we couldn't send a mob into them. So what to do? It did seem almost hopeless, but then something interesting happened. First, after breaking a box, I landed on the outside and could run past the rest of them, which was a good start, but the next thing that happened was even more of a breakthrough. We landed on the bottom box of this column without breaking it and proceeded to run on the outer edge. Now the question was, is this possible with that initial box in the way? Starting out, it didn't look great. A couple of close calls, with one time even going somehow too far. But then, nailed it. And a perfectly placed bonus platform just ready and waiting for us after, although I ended up not needing it as the rest of the level was pretty chill. Road Crash took a couple of goes to learn as some of the boosters and ramps led directly into boxes, so had to avoid them, as well as a completely garbage box hit near the end. A couple of runs later and was done though. And the final level of this section, double header. I think you've probably got the strap for this by now. Entropy fight went pretty quick. I actually really like this fight, but I do wish it went on for a bit longer or was a tad more difficult. Death Tornado acquired, although I'm not sure how much use it'll see. 2 bosses to go. On to Sphinxinator, which actually has one of my favourite OSTs in the game. We found out quite soon into the level that Death Tornado may actually come in real handy, as it gives some extra hang time in the air and helps with certain mobs as well. Although calling absolute rubbish on this one mob who just ignored the spin entirely. Twice. Was concerned when we got to this collection of boxes, but ended up being you could just walk down the left side of it. That was a bit of a close one though. Bye Bye Blimps was pretty simple. Shoot the blimps, avoid the box balloons. Pretty easy. Doubt these levels will be an issue. Tell No Tales was overall okay. Handy thing with the surfing levels is that there's a ton of space with the majority of the dangerous stuff around the boxes. So avoid the boxes, avoid the dangerous stuff. Saying that, almost got stopped here. Took a bit of time weighing up options, but ended up that we could boost just over this island corner. So that ended up being fine. A precise crystal grab was needed, which I missed. And some very nervy acceleration and braking required just shy of the end, but end up having no more box issues. Next to Future Frenzy. We've got to say I appreciate the amount of variety there is in this game, from different level settings from the sea to Egyptian to the air to Camelot to the future. Crash 3's got it all. This one required the crouch double jump from earlier quite a bit, from blocks, groups of boxes, and to jump on top of mobs. Came in very handy. This first interaction with these fans did worry me a tad, as it forced you into spinning when it shoots you up, and found the glide didn't last very long, hence this first death. And my fears were justified as we came across this. 3 boxes directly in the way. Tried to do a small jump on the fan, which ended up not working, so instead tried to clear the gap with a combination of the double jump and the Death Tornado, which ended up getting us there. Any wider a gap though, and that would have been it. We also got some more garbage hitboxes in this level, so quite a few resets here. After way too many attempts trying to get this double jump, I also found I'd missed this bonus platform this whole time, which would have saved us doing the entire level again and again. And the irony, the one time we got that checkpoint, we ended up finishing in the level that run. Not much to say on Tomb Raider, no box issues, and we managed to clear second try after getting blocked by the shield guy on our first go. Which thank God really, cause having to wait every time for the water going up and down could have been very painful doing resets on. Dr. Engine boss fight, still one of my favourites of the series, and we cleared his Megazord first try. Our last power up, which I may or may not have forgotten that I acquired and never used for the rest of the run. And it was time for the final 5 levels. Will there be anything else to trip us up? Straight into another future themed level in Gone Tomorrow, and with the issues had in the previous level, entered with a bit of trepidation. Starting out with some large mobs that blocked the path while shooting some bullet bills, but discovered you could actually just fly around them with a death tornado, so that was pretty neat to do. Did have to pull out the crouch jump quite a bit, and came across this little box formation, which I'm surprised it's taken until the end of the game to have something like this. I was expecting a few more of these. Although not complaining, as this honestly took me quite a few goes, as just the tiniest bit too high or low would break the boxes. After a few fails though, we eventually evened it out. One last little roadblock, and that was 1 down, 4 to go. Orange Asphalt was a fun one, apart from getting treated like a dodgem. Had one slip up when we landed directly from a ramp onto a box, but managed to get through on the second go without issues. 2 down, 3 to go. Not much to say on Flaming Passion. There's a lot more enemies introduced in this one, so it's quite tricky to get that deathless run down, but in terms of boxes, no issues at all. 2 left. Surprisingly ended up actually making a bee of Mad Bombers, as while searching for the final plane, ended up turning right into one of the box balloons. Doubt these levels will be an issue. Yeah, so much for my previous theory. Bug Light, the final level, nothing could stop us now. Oh, never mind. Yeah, honestly, when I got here, I thought that the ceiling was going to be too low and was going to be very salty for the final level. Had a funny case as well because the camera was stuck behind the boxes, so we had to sort of guess the final jump afterwards as well. MVP of this run definitely has to go to the crouch jump, not just because of the extra height, but also the mid-air splits Crash does to avoid landing on the boxes. And that was that. 25 levels done, 1 boss remaining. We had one last natter with the severed heads, and our 3rd doctor to fight of the day. Overall been a fun challenge. Did have a couple of levels where the deathless aspect was really tricky, especially Midnight Run. But overall, it was great. So can you beat Crash Bandicoot Warp without breaking boxes? Unfortunately not, but you can beat it without Crash directly hitting and breaking boxes himself, which I think is pretty cool. I hope you enjoyed that run. We do a whole host of different challenges on the channel, so be sure to subscribe for more, and hope you have a great day.